spooky place.
You ever get an invitation you know you shouldn't accept? Well, someone did. And by the time they realized the hosts weren't wearing masks at all, it was already too late. Sleep well tonight, if you still can. Before we begin, I request you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. On that note, let's begin. The Midnight Masquerade. The invitation arrived on a moonless night, slipped beneath the door of my modest apartment. The paper was thick, velvety, and smelled faintly of jasmine and something metallic. Iron, perhaps. The edges were gilded with intricate patterns that seemed to shift when I tilted the parchment under the flickering light of my lamp. It read, "You are cordially invited to the Masquerade of Shadows. Midnight, wear your finest. Bring your secrets. Leave your humanity at the door. No address, no host name. Just a symbol at the bottom. A crescent moon cradling a single drop of blood. I should have burned it. I should have thrown it away. But curiosity, that treacherous serpent, coiled around my heart and whispered go." The mansion stood at the edge of the city, where the cobblestone streets gave way to gnarled trees and whispering fog. It was a towering structure of black stone, its spires clawing at the sky like the fingers of some long-buried titan. The gates opened soundlessly as I approached, and I stepped into a world that felt both achingly beautiful and unnervingly wrong. The ballroom was a vision of opulence. Crystal chandeliers dripped with light, casting shimmering reflections on the polished marble floor. The air was thick with the scent of roses and something darker, something primal. The guests were breathtaking. Men and women with porcelain skin, eyes that glimmered like gemstones, and smiles that promised secrets too delicious to resist. They moved with a grace that was almost otherworldly, their laughter a melody that made my pulse quicken. I was handed a mask at the door, a delicate thing of black lace and silver filigree. The moment I put it on, I felt a strange warmth spread through my body, as if the mask were alive, bonding with my skin. The music began, a haunting waltz that seemed to echo in my bones, and I was swept into the dance. Their touches were electric, their whispers intoxicating. Every brush of their fingers against mine sent shivers down my spine. Every glance from behind their masks made my breath catch. I felt alive in a way I never had before, as if I had been sleepwalking through life until this moment. But as the night deepened, something shifted. The music grew discordant, the laughter sharper, more predatory. The guests' beauty began to crack, like a porcelain veneer over something rotten. I noticed the way their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, the way their smiles stretched too wide, revealing teeth that were just a little too sharp. And then, the masks began to come off. The first one I saw was a woman, or what had once been a woman. Her face peeled away like a second skin, revealing a visage of writhing tendrils and glistening fangs. Her eyes were voids, endless and hungry. Around her, others followed suit, their human disguises sloughing off to reveal monstrous forms. Some had horns curling from their skulls. Others had skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their laughter turned to guttural growls, their movements becoming jerky, unnatural. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. I had to get out. I had to run. But the doors were gone, the windows sealed. The ballroom was a cage, and the creatures were closing in. One of them grabbed my arm, its touch burning like ice. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the cacophony of their laughter. Its face loomed close, a nightmare of shifting shadows and gnashing teeth. "You're one of us now," it hissed, its voice a chorus of whispers. "Can't you feel it?" I looked down at my arm where it had touched me. My skin was changing, dark veins spreading like ink in water. My fingers twitched, elongating, nails sharpening into claws. The warmth I had felt earlier was now a searing heat, spreading through my body, reshaping me from the inside out. No! I screamed, tearing myself away. I ran, my legs moving awkwardly as my body continued to twist and warp. The creatures let me go, their laughter following me as I stumbled through the labyrinthine halls of the mansion. I found a mirror and froze. The face staring back at me was not my own. My eyes were black pools, my mouth a jagged gash filled with too many teeth. My skin was pale, almost translucent, and my hair had turned to strands of shadow. I tried to scream again, but the sound that came out was a guttural snarl. The transformation was complete. I was no longer human. The mansion spat me out at dawn, my new form writhing in the cold light of day. The invitation fluttered to the ground beside me, the symbol of the crescent moon, and blood now burned into my palm. I tried to cry, but no tears came. My body felt alien, wrong, but there was a part of me that reveled in the power coursing through my veins, the hunger gnawing at my insides. I wandered the streets, my monstrous form hidden beneath a tattered cloak. The city was waking up, blissfully unaware of the horrors that lurked in the shadows. I could smell their fear, their warmth, their life. It called to me, a siren song I wasn't sure I could resist. And then I saw her, a young woman, her laughter ringing out like a bell. She was beautiful, radiant, everything I had once been. My claws twitched, my mouth watering. The hunger was unbearable. But as I stepped closer, she turned and smiled at me. "You're one of them, aren't you?" she said, her voice soft, almost reverent. She reached into her bag and pulled out an invitation identical to mine. I've been waiting for this night my whole life. My heart, or whatever it was that now beat in my chest, sank. She didn't understand. None of them did. The masquerade of shadows wasn't a gift. It was a curse, a trap, and I was no longer the prey. I was the hunter. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I followed her to the mansion, my steps heavy with dread. The gates opened, the music began, and the cycle started anew. The masquerade of shadows would always have its guests, and I, like the others, would ensure it never ended. The young woman's name was Alara. She was radiant, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she stepped into the ballroom, her mask of crimson silk and gold filigree perfectly complementing her gown. I watched her from the shadows, my monstrous form hidden beneath the cloak I had scavenged. My claws twitched, my jaw aching with the need to feed. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not until I understood what was happening to me, to us. The ballroom was as I remembered it, a glittering nightmare of beauty and decay. The guests moved with their unnatural grace, their masks hiding the horrors beneath. I could see the hunger in their eyes as they watched Alara, their smiles too wide, too sharp. She was oblivious, swept up in the enchantment of the masquerade. She danced with them, laughed with them, her joy a stark contrast to the dread coiling in my gut. I moved through the crowd, my presence unnoticed. The creatures, my kin now, paid me no mind. To them, I was just another predator in their midst. But I was different. I still remembered what it was to be human. I still felt the echoes of my old self, screaming to be let out. I found myself standing before the mirror again, the same one that had shown me my monstrous reflection. This time, I saw more than just my twisted form. I saw the others behind me, their true faces flickering in and out of view. And then I saw him, the host. He stood at the edge of the mirror, his presence commanding, yet eerily still. His mask was unlike the others, a smooth, featureless black void that seemed to absorb the light around it. His suit was tailored to perfection, but the fabric shimmered unnaturally, as if it were alive. He stepped forward, and the mirror rippled like water as he emerged into the ballroom. The music stopped. The guests turned to him, their heads bowed in reverence. Alara stood frozen, her smile faltering as she sensed a shift in the air. The host approached her, his movements fluid and deliberate. He reached out, his gloved hand brushing her cheek, and she shuddered, her eyes widening in fear. "Welcome, my dear," he said, his voice a velvet purr that sent chills down my spine. "You are the guest of honor tonight." Alara tried to step back, but the crowd closed in around her, their hands gripping her arms, their masks slipping to reveal their true faces. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the cacophony of their laughter. I couldn't watch. I couldn't let this happen. I lunged forward, my claws slashing through the air, tearing into the creatures that held her. They hissed and snarled, their forms writhing as they turned on me. I fought with a ferocity I didn't know I possessed, my body moving with a speed and strength that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The host watched, his head tilted in amusement. "Ah, the rebellious one," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You think you can defy the masquerade? You are one of us now. There is no escape. I'm not like you." I snarled, my voice a guttural growl. "I won't let you take her." He laughed, a sound that echoed through the ballroom like 1,000 whispers. "You already have?" I froze, my blood running cold. I looked down at Alara, her body trembling in my arms. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the fear in them, not just of the creatures around us, but of me. My claws were buried in her side, my hunger having taken over without me realizing it. Her blood stained my hands, warm and inviting. "No," I whispered, my voice breaking. "No, no, no." The host stepped closer, his mask inches from my face. "This is your nature now. You cannot fight it. Embrace it, and the pain will fade." I wanted to scream, to tear him apart, but the hunger was too strong. I felt my body shifting, my humanity slipping away as the monster within took control. Alara's life drained away, her body going limp in my arms. The creatures around us cheered, their laughter a cruel symphony. The host placed a hand on my shoulder, his touch icy. "Welcome to the masquerade, my child. You are home." The days blurred together after that. I wandered the city, my monstrous form hidden beneath my cloak, my hunger a constant ache. I tried to resist, to hold on to the last shreds of my humanity, but it was a losing battle. The masquerade called to me, its pull irresistible. One night, I found myself standing outside a small, unassuming house. The scent of life wafted through the air, sweet and intoxicating. I crept inside, my claws flexing, my mouth watering. A family sat in the living room, their laughter filling the air. A mother, a father, a young girl. They were happy, oblivious to the horror lurking in their midst. I stepped into the light, my mask, the one I had worn to the masquerade, now fused to my face. The family screamed, their fear a delicious melody. I moved closer, my body trembling with anticipation. And then I saw it, on the wall, a painting of the crescent moon and the drop of blood, the symbol of the masquerade. The family's screams turned to laughter, their faces shifting, their masks slipping away to reveal the monstrous forms beneath. They were already part of the masquerade. They had been waiting for me. The host appeared behind me, his hand resting on my shoulder. "You see," he said, his voice a whisper in my ear, "there is no escape. The masquerade is eternal, and you are its newest player." I looked down at my hands, now stained with the blood of the innocent. My reflection in the window showed a creature of nightmares, its eyes hollow, its smile too wide. The last vestiges of my humanity slipped away, and I felt a strange sense of peace. The masquerade would never end, and I would never be alone again. The invitations continued to arrive, slipped beneath doors, left on doorsteps, handed out in the dead of night. The guests come willingly, drawn by the promise of beauty, of secrets, of something more. They dance, they laugh, they revel in the enchantment of the masquerade. And when the masks come off, they join us. The masquerade of shadows is eternal, and we are its eternal guests. The city had become a hunting ground. Night after night, I prowled the streets, my monstrous form hidden beneath the tattered cloak, my hunger a relentless fire burning in my chest. The masquerade had claimed me completely. I was no longer the prey. I was the predator. And yet, a sliver of my old self remained, a faint whisper in the back of my mind, screaming for redemption. But redemption was a luxury I could no longer afford. The host's words haunted me. The masquerade is eternal. You were its newest player. I had tried to resist, to fight the pull of the masquerade, but it was futile. The hunger was too strong, the darkness too deep, and so I embraced it. I became what they wanted me to be, a monster, a hunter, a bringer of shadows. But something was different tonight. The air was thick with an electric tension, the kind that precedes a storm. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting long, twisted shadows across the cobblestone streets. I felt it before I saw it, a pull, a beckoning like a siren's call. It led me to an abandoned church on the outskirts of the city, its spire crumbling, its windows shattered. The doors creaked open as I approached, revealing a darkness so profound it seemed to swallow the light. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of decay, and something else, something ancient, something powerful. The pews were overturned, the altar cracked and splintered, and there in the center of the nave stood the host. He was different tonight. His mask was no longer featureless. It bore the symbol of the masquerade, the crescent moon and the drop of blood, etched in silver. His suit shimmered with an otherworldly light, and his presence was overwhelming, suffocating. "You've done well," he said, his voice echoing through the empty church. "But the masquerade demands more. It demands a finale." I stepped closer, my claws flexing, my body tense. "What do you mean?" He smiled, his mask shifting to reveal a glimpse of his true face, a writhing mass of shadows and teeth. "The masquerade is a cycle, a dance that never ends. But every cycle must have its climax. Tonight, you will play your part." Before I could respond, the doors of the church slammed shut, and the walls began to bleed. Thick, black liquid oozed from the cracks, pooling on the floor, spreading like a living thing. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, and then they appeared, the guests, dozens of them, their masks slipping away to reveal their monstrous forms. They surrounded me, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light, their laughter a cacophony of madness. I recognized some of them. Faces from the city, people I had once known, now twisted into horrors. The host raised his hand, and the crowd parted, revealing a figure standing at the altar. It was a woman, her face hidden behind a mask of white porcelain. She wore a gown of shimmering silver, her body trembling as she clutched a dagger to her chest. "Tonight," the host said, his voice a thunderous roar, "the masquerade will be reborn, and you, my child, will be its harbinger." I stepped forward, my claws twitching, my hunger raging. But as I approached the woman, something inside me stirred, a memory, faint and fleeting, of who I used to be, of the humanity I had lost. The woman removed her mask, and my heart, or what was left of it, shattered. It was Alara, but not the Alara I had killed. This was a different Alara, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. She looked at me, her voice trembling as she spoke. "I know what you are," she said, "but I also know what you were. You can still stop this. You can end the masquerade." The host laughed, a sound that shook the very foundations of the church. "Foolish girl, the masquerade cannot be stopped. It is eternal." Alara's grip tightened on the dagger. "Then I'll destroy it from within. Before I could react, she plunged the dagger in her chest. The blade glowed with a blinding light, and the church was consumed by a searing explosion of energy. The walls crumbled, the floor cracked, and the guests screamed as their forms were torn apart. The host roared in fury, his mask shattering to reveal a face of pure darkness. "What have you done?" Alara fell to her knees, her blood pooling around her. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a strange peace. "End it," she whispered. "End it now." I felt it then, a surge of power, a final chance to reclaim what I had lost. I lunged at the host, my claws tearing into his shadowy form. He fought back, his strength unimaginable, but I was driven by something stronger, something human. We crashed through the crumbling walls of the church into the night beyond. The city was in chaos, the masquerade unraveling as the guests were consumed by the light. The host's form began to dissolve, his screams echoing through the streets. "You cannot destroy me," he roared. "I am the masquerade. I am eternal." "No," I said, my voice a guttural growl. "You're just a shadow, and shadows can be banished." With a final, desperate effort, I tore into him, my claws ripping through the darkness. He screamed, his form collapsing into a pool of black liquid that evaporated into the night air. And then silence. The city was still, the masquerade gone. I stood amidst the ruins of the church, my body trembling, my claws retracting. The hunger was gone, replaced by a hollow emptiness. I looked down at my hands, now human once more. Alara's body lay nearby, her eyes closed, a faint smile on her lips. I knelt beside her, my heart aching with a grief I had long forgotten. "It's over," I whispered. "The masquerade is over." But as I stood, I felt it, a faint pull, a whisper in the back of my mind. The symbol of the crescent moon and the drop of blood burned faintly on my palm, a reminder that some shadows never truly fade. The masquerade was gone, but it would return, and when it did, I would be ready. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe for more scary stories.